What's going on, you bunch of heretics? Today we are, as the title suggests, SLAPCHOP / speed painting our Horus Heresy Ultramarine Legionaries. Okay, this is the kind of finished product that we are going to get from today, and here, as you can see, is a few more that we have done from across the board. But yes, this is our how to kind of speed paint. Right now you should see a little description of all the paints that you will need for this tutorial, and of course in the description below is the Citadel equivalents that you can use to get your Ultramarines looking like this for the tabletop. Anyway guys, without further ado, let's get into this video. Let's get slap chopping / speed painting our Horus Heresy Ultramarine Legionaries to get them ready for the tabletop. Okay, so we've got our Space Marine, our Ultramarines, our Horus Heresy Mark II armor Space Marine ready to go. He's built and primed using the Zenithal technique that I've done on another video. If you want to see how that was done, head into the description below, click that link, and you'll be able to see how we create this base. Or if you want to go with the classic Heresy Slapchop base, there are plenty of videos on the channel as well that you can see how we prep that. But otherwise, we're going to go for this Heresy style Zenithal base where we've used black, grey and white to create this base. Alright, first things first that we're going to say, you are going to need Tidal Wave. We're going to do 2 thin coats of Tidal Wave. This is going to be a 1-to-1 mix, so 1 drop Tidal Wave to 1 drop Speed Paint Medium. Okay, and we're just going to apply that pretty much all over this model. So as always with these things, we're going to get the 2 thin coats on this model, good old classic Duncan Road style, 2 thin coats all over this miniature. Again, we just want to make sure that we move the paint around, trying to do a single panel at a time. Okay, you don't want to leave any sort of areas where you're missing out. And again, just work down the model, down like so, and just start to work all the way around. As I say, 2 thin coats is all you're going to need for this. So with our first coat applied, as you can see, it's a nice, very nice light blue. We're going to apply a second coat. Now, just remember when we're doing this, we don't want the paint to pool anywhere because it will just make it a little bit blotchy. Alright, so we're going to our first coat, we're moving the paint around, and now we're going to apply our second coat, our second thin coat of Tidal Wave. Right, there we have it. There's our 2 thin coats applied. As you can see, I've left some areas in the white, so obviously the pauldron, edges of the pauldrons, the weapon system, these kind of like vents here, a top vent, side ports, and some of the back part as well. Alright, but there we are, 2 thin coats of our Tidal Wave complete. We'll let that dry, and then we'll move on. We're going to get our Beowulf Blue, and we're going to get our Speed Paint Medium. We're going to go 1 part Beowulf Blue to 2 parts Speed Paint Medium for a nice little wash over our Space Marine. And all we're going to do is go over all those areas that we have applied that Tidal Wave Blue to. Alright. Now I absolutely love Beowulf Blue. I think it's a really nice fit for the Ultramarines look. It's got a real nice regal tone to it and dries really, really nicely. As always with this, just keep the paint moving around. Let it sit in those crevices. But what we don't want is to pool on the panels, okay? So just keep moving it around, don't let it pool, and just get it all over those areas. Okay, so there's our wash applied over the model. The great thing about this is whilst this is drying, you can start getting on with, you know, other ones. So I'm currently doing these while we're doing this. So I've got other ones on the go that you can do at the same sort of time. So that's the great thing about doing this kind of speed painting. Great for batch painting work. So while things are drying, you can crack them with all the other stuff. All right. Okay, guys. Next up, we are going to grab our matte white, and we're just going to do a very, like we do with the Xanadus, we're just going to do a very nice feather dusting of white over this model, and then we're going to apply Tidal Wave again as a bit of a wash. All right. So yes, very, very thinly, very, very gently, feather dust as we always do. Matte white on the brush, take it all off and just feather dust over all the areas in blue to create a bit of a grittier highlight, and also get away from some of the the blotches that maybe the speed paint has maybe caused. Alright. Yep, so as we say, just absolute feather dust to get some natural highlights on the model. Okay, natural highlights on the model, and I say we're just feather dusting all over, and you can just start to see some of those highlights coming through. Okay, again, just all over. The really nice thing about that Mark II armor is it's got some really nice areas where you can create a really nice natural highlight. Don't worry, we are going to be still getting the Zandri dust later on anyway, with a final coat of regal blue wash later on, but that's further down the line. Alright, for the time being, you'll just see that nice natural change in this. Feather dusting, guys, feather dusting. Okay, so with our dry brush done, we're now going to get some Tidal Wave. We're also going to get our speed paint medium, and we're just going to create a 2-to-1, maybe even 3-to-1 mix of 2 to 3 parts speed paint medium to 1 part Tidal Wave. This will just give it a nice, just that final little blue hue that allows some of those dry brush highlights to come through. Alright. Yep, so Tidal Wave, and all we're going to do, like we say, we're just applying this nice wash just over the top, just so we can see some of the highlights, a little bit of the separation, give them on that nice Ultramarines blue that we love to see. Okay, hasn't got to be neat, but again, just as we have been before, just try and go panel by panel, working down the model. Don't let it pool anywhere. Okay, this is literally just a very quick wash over the model, guys. There you go. So that's the Tidal Wave, just kind of like nice little wash over there for him. Next up, we're going to do the casing of the bolt gun, and then we're going to also do the kind of this like venting pattern that you can see all around the model. And all we're going to do, we're going to use Oculus Cloak. Again, we're just going to go straight from the pot with Oculus Cloak. If you've got it on your wet palette, again, just smooth it all out, and we're going to apply some Oculus Cloak to the weapon system, to the vents, front and back, to these like ports here, and then these areas here. Alright. So again, just one coat of this is all you're going to need, because then we're going to apply black over the top. So all we're doing here with this is just kind of giving it the initial kind of like base look over the model. Alright, before we apply the black to it. Just gives it a little bit of separation. If you go over some of the areas in white already that we weren't going to, don't worry, the metallic that we use later on will cover that. Alright, so if it's not neat, don't worry, it's all good. It will be covered with later on, so worry yourself not, you little heretics. So the thin layer of Oculus Cloak has now been applied. Once that's dried, we're then going to get our Grim Black and do the exact same thing again. And again, 2 thin coats of Grim Black, so we're going to go 1 part Grim Black to 1 part Speed Paint Medium to create a nice thin 2 thin coats over those areas we've just applied the Oculus Cloak to. So like we say, 2 thin coats, we're just going to go over those areas in black. And again, nice and easy. And because it's thinned out, it's easily movable. Movable? Can easily remove it off if we need to. And like I say, 2 thin coats is all you're going to need on this. And the Oculus Cloak just gives that initial hue that we're after. And just sets the tone. 2 thin coats applied of the Grim Black. Next up, we're going to go back to our classic Zandri dust dry brush. We're going to go a little bit heavier on the legs. I'm going to make sure that we cover all those areas in black as well. But yes, a very, very thin coat of Zandri dust for our classic. If you haven't got Zandri dust, we also use burnt tuft. That's what I'll be using, is burnt tuft. So either Zandri dust or burnt tuft. Again, exactly like we did with the white earlier, a feather dusting over this miniature. Alright. Remember guys, feather dusting, okay, of this. It means taking all of the paint off the brush and just slowly building it. All this does is just gives a nice weathered look to the model, just ever so slightly, with a bit more of a natural highlight, okay. Don't worry, we are going to add a few little bits and pieces later on for things like a bit more of a grim darkish kind of feel to your miniature, okay. Next up, so we've done our, there he is, all nice and dusty, looking good. So now we're going to add our golden armor, okay, speed paint metallics golden armor, okay, thin coat of this, or 2 thin coats probably, just to make sure it goes over the white nicely. We're going to go over the pauldrons, over the trim around the top of the helmet and the top of the chest. Here's a little icon here, and then over the top of the two exit ports, and we are going to do over yeah, maybe a little bit of gold in this vent here. We're going to have these silver, and that's going to be silver, but these are going to be gold, 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 gold. And then if you want, get the gold rounds in his bolt gun and the icon on the weapon system. Alright, let's do it. We need to make sure that with this that we do take our time. Okay, so take your time, just work those areas that we've just spoken about. Again, make sure though that with the metallics, okay, you keep the brush clean. So every sort of 15 seconds or so, or after each panel, okay, just make sure you give your brush just a clean. Alright, so we just don't want to make sure, we just want to make sure these metallics don't dry in your brushes. Alright, as I say, just nice and steady, nice and smooth with these. Again, just go in those areas that we discussed. Just nice and smooth. Okay. And like I say, these speed paint metallics are very much like speed paint, so they're thinner. They work the same, so you're probably going to want those 2 thin coats. We don't mix it with the Lamium medium, or sorry, the speed paint medium, sorry, but we do still treat it with the same respect, not letting it pull, move it around, keep the brush nice and clean. Okay, 2 thin coats of golden armor. And there he is. The Ultramarine is starting to come into his own now, isn't he? I think looking rather nice. Okay, so with that in mind, once that's dried, we're then going to get our, where are you, our liquid talent, our Agrax Earth Shade. Okay, Agrax Earth Shade, and all we're going to do, we're going to put a thin layer of Agrax Earth Shade into all of those areas we've just applied gold to. Don't worry if you think that's going to be quite dark. Don't worry, we are going to spruce it up a little bit with a dry brushing of bright gold, and then we'll add the silver afterwards. Okay, honestly, good old Agrax Earth, it just doesn't let you down, does it? It really doesn't. So yes, Agrax Earth Shade, and all we're going to do, we're just going to work that just into, we're actually going to work it quite into the in all the recesses here. So I actually don't mind it going onto the pauldron, as it's going to create me a nice bit of shadowing. And again, you only need 1 coat of this over those areas of gold. Agrax Earth Shade, liquid talent. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Agrax Earth Shade applied. So like I said, we're going to let that dry now. Okay, once that's dried, we're going to get some, okay, War Paint's bright gold. Okay, bright gold, and any sort of Citadel equivalent like bright, you know, a lighter gold will be absolutely perfect for this. And it's just going to be a real feather dry brush with the bright gold just over those areas that we've applied the gold to. Alright, and then finally, once we've done both the silvers and the golds on completely, we'll then do a final dry brush of a light silver altogether. Alright guys, so with a thin small dry brush, we're just going to go over all those areas, gold with bright gold. Okay, bright gold. So next up, we're going to get broadsword silver. We've applied all the areas of the gold we want to. So before we do the final polish of silver, we're going to actually get the baseline of silver. I hope that just makes sense of what I've just said. It will do shortly anyway. So the actual like gun casing. We're going to get that in the broadsword silver. We're also going to get the sort of trims of the backpack done in silver as well. Okay, so broadsword silver, again, 2 thin coat or potentially 1 to 2 coats of this over the miniature is all, over those areas we discussed, is all you're going to need. So again, just a steady hand like we did with the gold, but again we're just going to go around all the trimmings of the weapon system. Again, magazine housing, barrel, just like I say, just work your way around the model, bits of the scope on top. It is quite a dark silver, it is broadsword silver, and we're still going to use a bit of null oil as well to go over this. Okay, just bear that in mind. We are still going to use null oil after this, but once we use the shining silver, or polished silver, my apologies, polished silver, to kind of dry brush afterwards, it will just give it a nice shine. And there's our broadsword silver applied to the miniature. And like I say, guys, I mean, realistically, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could quite easily just call it there if you really wanted to. But we're going to keep going with a few little bits and pieces. But as you can see, it just sits really quite nicely in the miniature, and is really looking quite nice for the old Ultramarines. It's time for the other liquid talent, which is of course known oil. And all we're going to do, we're just going to get our known oil, and we are quite literally going to just go from the pot into all those areas that we have just applied the silver to. Okay, nothing really to it, I'm afraid, guys. Just literally all the areas we've applied silver to. The beautiful thing about null oil is if you get it on any of the parts of this person, it literally will make next to no difference. If anything, might even make the model look a little bit better. Who knows? But honestly, if it goes in other places, don't even sweat it. Alright, it will just sit nicely in the recesses and maybe even give your model some more depth. Who knows? But yes, null oil in all the areas that we've just applied. So that is our null oil applied into those areas, and then finally all we're going to do is a little bit of shining silver just onto the gold and the silver areas that we have done. Alright, again, it's a further dry brushing of shining silver just to really give that model a final bit of pop. Once we've done that, we're going to get a little bit of Rhinox hide, a stippling brush, add some damage, and that will be us pretty much done and ready for him to be based. Alright, so I say with our shining silver, it is literally just an absolute, again, small dry brush and just a real feather dusting just on those areas, on the corners, over the weapon system, and it just gives the model that extra highlight, that extra bit of pop. If you want to, some of those vent ports, give those a bit of silver treatment, no harm, no foul. And then again, just those areas that we've done gold. And if it gets on some of the model, don't worry, you know, that's fine. You know, at the end of the day, it will look like a bit of battle damage, a scratch, you know. So yeah. And there we are, almost there. So again, really nice and easy, nothing strenuous, it's just a final silver highlight over those areas of gold and silver, just to give that little bit of extra shine. Now, if you want a neat looking Ultramarine, that's you done. Get yourself away, go and base your model however you want to do it. If you'd like a bit more battle damage, we're going to do that now, and if you'd like to know how to do a bit more detailing in the eyes, we're also going to do that. But the thing with the Mark II armor, you know, it's a finer detail bit. This is really slap, chop, and speed painting quickly does it. But there you are. If you want an Ultramarine, good to go on the tabletop. It's literally, what, 4 colours, and he is good to go on the tabletop. For those of you that are staying, we're going to carry on now, but for those of you that have enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Right, for those of you that are staying, we are now going to add a little bit of battle damage, just with a stippling brush. And then we're just going to do some green. We're going to go with green in... No. Yeah. We're going to give it green. Let's go green. Why not? Right, folks, I'm talking nonsense. We're going to do red. We're going to keep it rather traditional. We're going to keep it appropriate to the lore. We're going to give them red eyes. So really easy eye lenses. We're going to go with a matte white first of all. A simple line. Because these Mark II helmets, they're quite an interesting one, really. So a line across there. Then we're going to use just a single layer of maize yellow, and then just again a very thin down layer of slaughter red to get our eyes. So with this one, guys, again, like I said, this is just there's a little bit of added detail. Please make sure when you're doing this you use a nice detail brush, so just a real small or an extra small detail brush, okay? And again, just take your time with it. And the great thing about using these contrast paints and speed paints is that if you get it on the edges, it's okay, because the contrast paints will create a nice little highlight. Alright, so as you can see, it's not the neatest thing in the world, but luckily it will create a nice little glow on the miniature. Alright, so there's the white done. Easy as that. With that dry, our maize yellow, same again, small detail brush, and all you need to do is just a thin line just along the eye lens. The reason why we're using yellow is because it will help take away the potential pink look that white has when you're placing slaughter red over it. So the yellow just gives it that deeper red look that we want. And finally, we're going to use our slaughter red. So what I'm going to do is with the slaughter red on my palette, I'll just show you here, is I've got the slaughter red on here, and I'm just going to just move it around a little bit, so it's a bit of a thin texture. And then all we'll do, same again, exactly the same, we're just going to single layer around those eyelids. Nice and easy. Nice and simple, nothing wild, but again, just an easy eye lensing system for your Ultramarines. Okay, so finally now we're going to add our battle damage, which is just a bit of stippling, and then that's pretty much it. So if you watched the recent Khorne Berserker video, you will notice that we talked about battle damage and an easy battle damage looking weathering system. As you say, I want to make this look like it's been through the bowels, it's been through the thick of it. Alright, so realistically, and one we've made earlier, okay, is as you can see on this guy here, he's got lots of battle damage, dirt and grime and stuff like that. Alright, and that's where I've used a little bit of Agrax Earthshade and Rhinox Hide. So all we're going to do, you can do one of two ways, as we discussed before. One, you can either use the sponge way, which is what we did in the Khorne Berserker video, or today, which we're going to use, is the kind of stippling effect. So grab an old brush, we can do just snip it all off, and you'll have like these sort of hard ends on your brush. You're going to get some Rhinox Hide, dip it into the Rhinox Hide pot, take it all off, and then we're just going to just stipple effect, all stipple all over the model. With these, we're going to go just on the base of the feet first of all, and again, all I'm doing, I'm just stabbing at the model. Okay, I'm just stabbing at the model. Go a little bit heavier around the boots, and then you can just go all over the model, and I'm just literally just stabbing in it. Stippling effect is what we're calling it. And you're going to go absolutely everywhere on the miniature. Now it's much better to go light with this at first, because what you don't want to do is just slap this all on, and it ends up becoming just a little bit overdone. Okay, so what you want, like we do with our dry brushing, put plenty on, put loads on the brush, and then take it all off, and then just slowly build, and you'll just see that on the edges it will just start to kind of create that nice bit of battle damaged in the thick of it effect. Alright, stippling all done. He's got a nice little bit of battle damage. You know, I think it looks great for the tabletop, and it's good to go. Right, so now I'm going to just do all of my basing. So really for this, I'm just going to do something with, where is all of my stuff? As always for this, I use a bit of sterling mud on the top here, and then a little bit of flock over the top. And that'll be him all done. So we'll skip to the part where I've done all the base and he is complete. I'm also going to add just some decals that I want to put on for my legionary, but otherwise I think for the tabletop and obviously where you want to do your basing, I think this guy is good to go. So let's skip to the end where the base is all done. Okay, here he is, all based, all done, good to go, ready to join his brothers on the battlefield. So as you can see, I've just added some little decals there with the Ultramarine ones, and then just add a bit of base. Also on top there, I've just added a little bit of weathering with some Agrex Earth Shade on round near his feet once I've done this. But like I say, whatever basing you decide to go with, I'm sure will no doubt work really, really well. I like this simple setup. I think it looks quite nice. It's got a good battle type theme to it, which is quite nice, and some easy basing, some basing bits there. So yes, that is the how to SLAPCHOP / speed paint our Horus Heresy Ultramarines Legionnaires. We've got a couple more here. So this is obviously one that you might have seen earlier in the video. Again, just same sort of theme. And this is one of the Mark 6 HQ ones that I've done. Again, I've just, with the plume, added some bits and pieces and then a little bit of barbed wire on there because he's a bit more of an elevated warrior. Alright, so yes, our Ultramarines from the Horus Heresy in Mark 2 armour. I think they're looking pretty nice and ready. Definitely past that 3-foot rule at least anyway. Guys, if you found this video useful, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. But that's me guys, signing off for now. I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.